And welcome back to JKLIVE live here at Citizen Television. It's that time, The Bench. And I had told you that my guests are the dynamic duo, the awesome twosome, Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. and Nairobi County Senator Johnston Sakaja. Well, something came up last minute. It's going to have to be just the awesome one-some.
What's that?
Nairobi Senator Johnston Sakaja, who never lets us down. Thanks for coming, man.
Never let you guys down.
Pole, bana, pole.
Yeah. Kuna shida?
Because you were expecting the duo, you know, the dynamic duo?
Yeah.
But it's all good.
It's all good.
Mutula is watching.
I hope he is.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Thanks for coming. And
Asante.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. It's still the birthday week, so gifts,
the whole week
are still accepted.
34?
Yeah.
34?
34.
Man, you're going to be president before 40.
I don't know why people don't believe it.
very few people believe.
I think I'll have to do what Obama did and produce my
your birth certificate.
Yeah, no, but I'm grateful to God.
Oh, well done, man.
For the journey so far.
Yeah.
My story is the most unlikely story. No one would have ever thought, leave alone me, that this would be my calling at this time. And having been exposed to a lot of great leadership at a young age, and I'm one of the youngest, but with the most experience, 14 years in the game. Yeah, from President Mwai Kibaki, President Uhuru Kenyatta, TNA, constitution process. So I just thank God, and I'm grateful that He's been so gracious to me. When you were doing the running around, you were a gopher for Kibaki, right? Remember? Driver. Yes, yes. And gopher, you know, get this, get that, take this, check there. Did you think, you know what, where these guys are sitting now, I'm gonna be there? Did you think in your mind, in your wildest dreams? I did, but I didn't think this soon. I thought, you see, for a long time, Jeff, politics was always a retirement thing. Yeah. And I've always been against that. That's why I always support young people who want to get into leadership, because this country needs us to give it our best years. You know, let's not just sweat it out in the corporate world and elsewhere, go make money. And then when you're old and tired, you decide, oh, because niko na pesa, wacha ningie siasa ama uongozi. I think this country needs committed, visionary, impassioned, talented young people to take the mantles. Whenever this country has been at the crossroads, look at pre-independence. Tom Mboya. Yeah. How old was he? He was in his 20s. 20s, 28, 29. And when he was in his 20s, what he did for us, from the Littleton Constitution, the Lennox Boyd settlement, going up, you know, they'd go to the UK. All these wazers would be put up in a dormitory. He'd be staying at the Piccadilly. His friends were Martin Luther King, JFK. Yeah. He was in his 20s. Yeah. President Mwai Kibaki, former president, His Excellency, was 32 when he was executive director of KANU, you know. And that time, they didn't have the conveniences we have today. They didn't have WhatsApp, Facebook. They didn't have, you know, all these ways of communicating. But they knew what this country was about to them. You can imagine how hard it was to get from Nairobi to Kisumu to Mombasa, and the white man is looking down upon you. And they were able to deliver this country from the shackles of imperialism because they knew the cause of the generation. Look at the next generation that followed, you know, because the generation actually is what, a span of 25 years. 25, yeah. Look at the next 25 years. The fight for multipartism in this country. The Orengos, the Muites, you know, the Railas, the Matibas. They were young. There was an oppressive regime against them, but they knew their season. And I keep saying there is nothing more powerful than a generation that is in tune with its cause and its season. And so it's time for our generation to actually take up these heroic mantles that are historic at a time when our country is trying to pull together. I'm glad you said that, because your generation seems to be clamoring or at odds to destroy your party. Jubilee, which seemed invincible a year ago, seems to be coming undone. I don't think so. You don't think so? No. You don't think? Would you think Jubilee will survive? It must survive. If we're ever to have faith in institutions, and I think the future of this country is on building credible political institutions, then we must build credible parties. You know, and whenever you build a party that is never about ideology, that is not about a philosophy, that is not about a way of doing things, that's about personalities, then what is happening is what takes force. So the battling forces, even within there, even within ODM, within all these parties, there are those who say Jubilee is about Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. There are those who say ODM is about Raila Odinga and who not, you know. Yet there are those who feel, and I've interacted with many of them, that these parties must go beyond individuals. They must be about an agenda, you know. And one day I pray and hope that in my lifetime, I will never know if your name is John Kamau, which party you belong to. If your name is Matthew Opio or Chris Wafula, because it will be about what you believe in. And when you tell me you're a Jubilee person or a NODM person, the same way if you tell me you're a Democrat in the US, I know what you think about you know, the economy, about the space of government. I know what your theory on issues of, you know, child, you know, reproductive health rights, etc. are, because it's about those policies, not just about, you know, beyond just efficacy. It must be about a bigger ideal, especially this time when we're trying to bring our country together.
And yet, former Jubilee Vice Chair David Morathe,
yes,
last night on Newsnight with Hussein Mohammed, said if President Uhuru Kenyatta moved from Jubilee to ODM or NASA, we would move with him.
You know, unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch that. We had a fire in Kangemi.
Right.
And we had to go and make sure, you know, everything is being dealt with properly.
And apparently there's one in Gikomba.
Yeah.
You heard, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard. And I'm glad, I mean, even for yesterday, I'm glad at least the response was quick from the county government. I want to thank NYS because when we called them, in 7 minutes they were there.
Wow.
With 2 trucks with water. You know, there's responding when you come with a truck without water.
Yes,
you also
correct.
come into water.
Correct.
You know.
Okay. Okay. You didn't watch the interview.
But what you're saying, I mean, I've had the banter. I've not been able to look at the YouTube feed. Let me tell you what that portrays really is a school of thought that is living. You know, there's a new type of politics that must emerge. It must emerge. You understand? That's the poison of the politics of the past. That my party is where Jeff Koinange is. So is it a party? Well, you know, once you stop seeing parties as vehicles and see them as institutions, you know, then we'll have an El Molo as a president one day. Then we'll have a system like in Tanzania, where you can never imagine the tribe of the next president because they did it deliberately. You know, So I mean, I don't agree with a lot of what he says in terms of the personality-driven agenda. Maybe some of what he's saying could be true, could not be true, but that is not the way to run a party.
Okay.
Jeff, I've run a party before, so I know what I'm talking about.
Here you go, PNU. Oh, TNA, correct.
TNA, I know what I'm talking about.
Let's listen to that one soundbite. You didn't watch the interview, but let's just listen. Monica, you have that soundbite, right? Let's take a listen.
The law says the president can only serve for 2 terms, not more than 2 terms.
Okay.
It also says the deputy president can only serve for not more than 2 terms. They then go ahead and say...
As the presidency, right?
As the deputy president. They then go ahead and say that the deputy president can run for presidency. All right? After having served 2 terms as deputy president. So you imagine a scenario where Uhuru's 2 terms are finished and the deputy president's 2 terms as deputy president are finished. And then he takes over as president with Uhuru as his deputy. Should then anything happen to the deputy president, Uhuru automatically becomes the president. That's the constitution.
Okay.
So would he not be serving 3 terms, correct? He would be serving more than 2 terms. Let's go slowly. Uhuru would now be serving as president for more than 2 terms, which is against the constitution. And that is why we're saying, as the presidency, they can only do 2 5-year terms each.
All right, look, and he said a lot more, and much of it was caustic.
But on that statement, you know, David Morathe is a friend of mine. Yeah, I know him, I've worked with him. There are many things I agree with him on. But some of these things, surely, Jeff, that statement itself, that because the law does not specifically say that the president cannot be deputy president, and then, God forbid, whoever becomes president when his running mate leaves, then he'll come. That's a fishing expedition in a swimming pool that is empty. There is no water. You understand?
Yeah.
Because the law envisages that if it says, look, you can only have 2 terms as a president, then it cannot even imagine you being in a position where, in case of any eventuality, you can then be president again. Meaning, the president, leave alone being deputy president again, cannot even be speaker of the National Assembly. Because in the absence of the president and the absence of the deputy, you can also not be speaker.
Yeah.
And what I tell them, look, if you have a personal issue with an individual or with a way of doing things, talk to the substance of the issue. Don't try and find a way to circumvent the law and bring up all this, cobwebs and all this, the boogeyman politics to deal with the individual,
Yeah.
And I understand the frustration that some of these people might be having. I understand it fully,
What are the frustrations?
You see, look at, for instance, the handshake. And these things are natural in any political party, Look at the late McCain. McCain did not agree with President Trump, leave alone the deputy. He didn't agree with him, but he stood and remained in the party because you must have internal democracy in a political party. Yeah. You must do that. And I'm glad that David has made it clear that he's speaking for himself, not for anybody else.
Yeah.
Those are his personal opinions. But you see, there's a school of thought, and I know even at some point I've come out and I've asked my colleagues, at some point, even my leader in the house, when he went to Mao and spoke about, that people are coming. And I think maybe we didn't even understand each other at that point. But I said, look, there are people within the party who had been undermining the president and his agenda. And the president is very keen on his agenda of uniting this country, building bridges, the handshake, and the fight against corruption. So at every turn, when you talk about, lifestyle audit, say, oh, you're targeting our community, you're targeting our people. When you talk about, even the Mao eviction, it becomes, about Raila Odinga, etc. But then it was on the substance of the issues, not on personality.
But Senator, let's face it, it seems obvious that there is a movement out there, and it's basically a Stop Ruto movement, led by this man, David Murathe.
There can be a movement, Jeff. No one will ever get the presidency of this country on a silver platter. Look at the presidents we've had. They've all had to go through something difficult to become president.
Yeah.
From Jomo Kenyatta. How did he become president? He went through incarceration. Yeah. Look at Daniel Arap Moi. He was being, frustrated, insulted. I think he had to travel in the boot of a car from Nakuru.
Yes.
Whatnot. I think he was slapped by an officer.
Yeah,
he became president.
Yeah.
And then there was even a movement that this man cannot become president, change the constitution movement. Look at President Mwai Kibaki, what he had to go through, including his accident. Look at Uhuru Kenyatta with the Hague process and all that. So it'll never be easy. So there'll always be those movements. But sometimes I think we blow things out of proportion. So for that school of thought, and I understand where they're coming from, let the people decide. Let Kenyans decide. If Kenyans do not want a particular individual to be president, he will not be. And this country, God loves this country. God knows. God has ordered our steps. God has ordained our leaders. God knows who will be the president after Uhuru Kenyatta.
But even Uhuru Kenyatta, you mentioned it, the president himself said, let me do 10 years, I'll do my 10 years, and then we'll hand over to William Ruto, and he'll do 10. He said that himself. There's a soundbite.
Has he said anything different?
Now,
things, he has not said anything different. David does not speak for him. If anything changes, and things change, Jeff, things change. Let me tell you. This is the 6th of February. Yeah. Just after the 1-year anniversary of the swearing in of Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Yeah. At that point, Jeff, 1 year ago, could anyone imagine the kind of union we have now?
Yeah.
None.
Sure.
So who do you think, and if anybody comes to this bench and tells you how next year will look like, leave alone 2022, they'll be lying to you.
Are you saying we should prepare for some surprises?
You should. You never know what's going to happen, Jeff.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. And that's why for us, what is critical, and this is a point I was trying to make earlier. You see, imagine what it took the president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, keen on an agenda that he has spelled out extremely clearly, it's so lucid. Yeah? That, guys, please, let us focus on work. At that point, they could not see eye to eye, leave alone be in the same room with the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. His Excellency, the President, could not.
Yeah.
But he came down, he took all that baggage away, left his ego at the door, and said, for the sake of work to be done in this country, let me go speak to my elder brother. And let me tell him, please come to tufanye kazi pamoja. This is somebody who was supposed to be even charged. You remember that time, all that talk, Githu Muigai would talk about treason, etc., and the temperatures were bad. You know, I remember just before that going to get Babu Owino out of a cell.
That's right. That's right.
I got so much flack.
Yes.
Because we could not see, we could not see each other as Kenyans.
Yeah.
It was not about, oh, so you are, which tribe are you from, which party are you from? So he did all that so that we can tone down the political rhetoric and focus on delivering on Kenyans, because then it is that delivery, being able to have done a few things that we've promised that will then can determine the future.
But the man who delivered Rift Valley for President Kenyatta,
yes,
seems to have been thrown under the bus.
I don't, for me, even when I look at the handshake, yeah, and I look at where we are as a country, all of this are what we call conjecture. People are joining dots because as a country, politics is a sport in this country. I've sat with them together. They're still friends.
Yeah.
They're still focused on working. But lieutenants around both are trying to derail their focus. And let me tell you, I was a founder member of TNA. Yeah, back then. I remember December the 4th, 2012, at Afraha Stadium. When we came together, TNA and URP, do you know it was never about power for the sake of it? Yeah? In fact, our union, and I'll use a phrase that His Excellency used once, we're not coming together for the love of power, but because of the power of love. That no Kenyan will ever look at another one as an enemy that this one I must kill. And remember, we had antagonistic communities in the Rift Valley then. Yeah. So it was all about unity. That's why when we came up with Jubilee, and that time I was the leader of the strategy committee at Jubilee, and the branding, the slogan, the logo, everything, ask any member who was in the last parliament. What slogan did you use? Tuko pamoja. And Tuko pamoja was never about two communities. So the president has now moved beyond just that unity that stopped all this antagonistic politics from the 90s, since multi-party started between two communities, saying the whole country must be pamoja. We must be together. So it is not that for him to work with Raila means that forget about William Ruto. So those who are cheapening this thing to be about Tanga, Keleweke, all of them are wrong.
Okay, so why it looks like the deputy president is open season now, because now his supporters have started attacking Sultan, Governor Hassan Joho.
That's a directly personal tiff between the two. Yeah?
What do you mean?
Jeff, today, if you insult me, possibly my supporters will come and insult you. And then we go back to the poison of the politics of the past, which His Excellency the President and the Right Honorable Prime Minister, I know, based on building bridges, are trying to get us away from. Yeah. So you think you're doing your person a favor, but actually you're not. And that is where they don't get it. They just don't get it.
What does this do to the handshake?
First of all, it flies in the face of the handshake.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, most Kenyans just want peace. And I keep telling you, the majority of Kenyans, leave the politicians, we're just a small percentage. Leave the media, you guys are very few. Leave us. Majority of this country want just the simple thing, to go about your life peacefully, to make something out of yourself, guarantee your child a future. And what building bridges is going to do for this country, no matter where your child is born, no matter where you go to school, no matter what your name is, you must know you have an equal shot at life. Can we just focus on that?
You know, you mentioned a small tiff between the two, right?
Yeah.
Personal tiff. But let's face it, it has everything to do with 2022. Everything.
Jeff, I've said time and time again, yeah? Because I consider myself, and I want to, and my mentors have taught me to be more of a leader than a politician. And that is what I thrive to do. You won't see me doing a back and forth with politicians. My colleagues in politics. You can be a politician, but you're a leader in politics. Leaders, yeah, and politicians are different. Politicians are preoccupied with the next election. Leaders are busy thinking about the next generation. Jeff, you don't want your kids to be on the bench grappling with the same issues.
Correct. 20
years down the line. Yeah. Or 5 or 10 years down the line. You understand? So we need to just black out those small, funny wars. Politics will always be there. This country will always have politics. But where is our focus? You know? Look at the US. When is their next election?
2020, next year.
Next year. The political temperature in Kenya
right now
is much higher then the US, the biggest economy, the quintessential of a perfect democracy that we all try to ape, who have an election next year? Who is a Democratic candidate?
We don't know.
Who's a front runner?
Well,
does Trump have the ticket?
No.
We don't know. They don't care. It's all about the economy. It's all about fulfilling. But us, 2019, yote ishe. 20 yanze, yote ishe. 21 yanze, yote ishe. Then 22 until August, you'd think the ballot is next week. I mean, surely. Can we just, for once, focus on what is to be focused on?
But you know, you talk a good talk. But your colleagues don't listen. They're busy out there campaigning every weekend.
Well, Kenyans should look at that.
Do you talk to them? Do you try and...
I try, but I mean, there's only so much I can do. I didn't vote for them. I only voted for myself.
Yeah.
I voted for Governor Sonko. I voted for Rachel Chebesh and Uhuru Kenyatta. And my MP and my MCA. So, Kenyans must also start asking themselves how we make these political choices. Yeah? Because you can tell the content of someone's character not just by what they say, but the company they keep. It tells you.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Jeff, there are millions of young people in this country without jobs. They're getting fed up. I talk to them. They're getting upset. Even in my own county, Nairobi, there are so many who are like, all of this is just about you people. Huh?
Yeah.
Everything you bring into us is about you people. And let me tell you, we do not want that implosion in this country. So let us rally behind the president's agenda for now. And let's just try. I keep saying let's try. So we just try a year, we see. We won't die because of reducing the political temperature. But it can't be, Jeff, that everywhere I go, people asking me, oh, Sakaja, what are you vying for? Oh, you, what are you vying for? Surely, have I even done 2 years? No? So we must change that narrative. We must change our mindset.
You speak to the president a lot, right? You're friends.
Yes. Yeah, we're friends. I don't know how to validate that.
Yeah. So the question is, every now and then he has to crack the whip. Like last week, standing on that car in, where was it?
On the way to
Arusha.
Yeah.
Cracking the whip, saying, you guys, come on, man, come on. Does he have to do this at this point when he's thinking about Big Four, he's thinking about all this, but everyone else is thinking 2022?
You see, ideally he shouldn't. And that's what I'm saying. What the likes of Murad and the rest, who might possibly have had chance to, fraternize with him, see that frustration. And they're like, if he had to do what he did and take his ego away, to come down, to work with the former Prime Minister, so that political temperatures go down, but the only political noise you're hearing is from your quarters, you'll feel the same. You'll actually feel the same. Yeah. And so sometimes there's no rift between two people. There's no rift between them. But the situation created by the people around you can cause it. Jeff, let me give you a question. People get into relationships, yeah? And when they get together, they're in love. And they make promises for the future and the world. And, you're looking at each other with rose-colored glasses. Why do they separate? Why? Why at some point do they separate? Because at some point then you've become something else, or at some point what we are aimed to do is not what, and we do not want that situation in this country. So I ask my colleagues, surely, For me, Jeff, my birthday was the other day, yeah? For me, it cannot be about an election. I can even choose not to vie in the next election. I can sit out another, 15 years? How old will I be?
Oh, yeah? 34 plus 15, yeah. 49?
Only.
Under 50 still.
Yeah. So it cannot just be about the next election.
But you mentioned separation a moment ago. The president is busy focusing on Big Four, right?
Yeah.
Which is his legacy.
Yeah.
Big Four.
Yeah.
And yet his deputy and others, succession, that's all the thinking of, succession. The president is almost a lame duck at this point.
He's not a lame duck. And anyone who thinks President Uhuru Kenyatta is a lame duck is in for a rude shock. He's not. And number two, I've had His Excellency the Deputy President speaking, and he even issued a statement on the day they were going to that, look, those who are trying to do politics with my name should stop. And he said he's not talking about politics.
But he's still attending rallies.
And I was like, not rallies, meetings. Yeah? And for as long as not political, then he's doing what the president has asked him to do.
Yeah.
And that is our stand as a party. Our party has a hierarchy. Our party has a party leader. It has a deputy party leader. It has a chairman, it has no vice chairman, and other positions. And so we must follow our party hierarchy.
Okay, when the deputy president attends rallies or fundraisers and people praise him and say, oh, you're our next big thing, you're the next one, blah, 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 he doesn't stop them.
He should.
He doesn't stop them, yeah.
He should tell them to stop. He needs to tell them to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plain and simple. He must tell them to stop. And if he sees that that cannot be stopped, then he needs to stop doing those functions.
There you go.
Because it completely goes against what the person wants to do.
Yeah.
Clearly. Yeah.
It's like one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing.
It knows. But you know, let me tell you, the Bible says everything that is permissible is not beneficial. You know, we have political rights in our constitution. Article 38 gives people the right to say what they want to say, gives people the right to campaign for what they want to campaign for. But if we have agreed that, look, we have an agenda, Jeff, and for us to fulfill that agenda, let us focus on these few things, then please just tell your people to cut it. Yeah? Simple as that.
Yeah.
That does not mean that there's an implosion in Jubilee. That does not mean that the statements of my friend David mean that, oh, Jubilee, we've closed shop, we're no longer a party, and now let's all start shopping for parties. I've seen some guys going to get DP, Democratic Party, some people trying to get... let's build an institution. You never know. In the next election, we could all be in one party. It might be the Uhuru Kenyatta is there, Raila Odinga is there, Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi. Everybody might be in one party.
And who will be the opposition?
Whoever opposes them.
You know, Francis Gashuri.
I could be the opposition.
Francis Gashuri is telling me, siasa ni kujipanga.
Ni kujipanga?
Yes.
Lakini sio kupanga wa Kenya.
Lakini, if William Ruto was to take a leaf from former Vice President Daniel Arap Moi and wait and wait and wait and wait and hope that he'll be that guy who will be given the baton to run with. There's no guarantees, my friend. There's no guarantees.
There's never a guarantee, Jeff. So and that's why, and let me tell you, within Jubilee, I've refused to be put in a cocoon in a box, because people are trying to say, oh, this one is Tanga, this one is Keleweke, and whatnot. And you know, the only way you do that is by sticking not to the individuals, but to the principle, the principles behind the institution you're in. And I know there are many leaders within Jubilee listening to me who find themselves in a catch-22. They've been asked, oh, claim your loyalty. Where are you? Where are you? Let me tell you, let's remember that meeting we had where we actually agreed on the founding principles of this union and this party, where we dissolved, what, 13 political parties? It was never about someone's ascension to power or the re-election. It was about what we really want to do for Kenyans. And once you do that, Jeff, the same way I told you, in 2018, January, we'd never imagine 2019, January. No matter what happens in 2020, 2021, 2022, you'll be on the right path. And history, I promise you, Jeff, history will prove me right.
One more question before we take a quick break. If the president was really willing to get his house in order, and it looks like Jubilee is coming undone, and I said that earlier on, why doesn't he just call a PG? Call it, crack the whip in there and say, guys, this is the last time I'm telling you guys this. Toe the line or quit. Call a PG.
How do you know you won't call it? You know you can't determine his timetable. Have you seen his calendar? Have you seen his diary?
I have not.
Yeah, of course we'll have a parliamentary group meeting, which is coming up. Yeah, I'm not the person to make an announcement, but of course we'll have a parliamentary group meeting. Yeah, and we'll discuss these things, and people will open up internally. Let me tell you, I love the democracy within a party and what is called collective responsibility. Yeah. Let's go into the party. Let's remove our claws. Let's go at each other. Let's discuss things and let them stay there. Alafu ile laini inachukuliwa ndio hiyo. That is what a party is. So
you know what? What you said just now shows that you're not happy with some of your colleagues.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not. And I'm allowed, I mean, of course I can't. Who loves everyone? In terms of, of course you love them, but who agrees with everybody? If you agree with everyone, a man who stands for anything, or, will fall for anything. Who stands for nothing will fall for anything. You must have a stand. And Jeff, let me tell you, my stand, I stand on my stand. It has vindicated me throughout since I was 20 in politics. Because I believe in this country. And Jeff, this country, let me tell you, there's a time people will not remember there's a party called Jubilee or there's a party called ODM if you go this way. Yeah? Yeah. There's a time, Jeff, people would say, Mimi ni Fodasili, damn. And they would kill for it and fight for it. Where is Fodasili? Kenya is still there. There's a time people would say, I'm KPU, I'm KADU. I'm Ford Kenya is somewhere. All these parties that we've had, damn, Where are those parties? KANU is a pale shadow of itself. But Kenya will always remain Kenya. So let's focus on those things that can be immortalized. Not on the things that are transient, like individuals or like political expediency. Political expediency comes with a high for a moment, for a very short while. After that, yeah.
I want to take a break, come back and talk about, there's some people who are saying that what the president is doing to his friend is what is Shakespearean. It's the night of the long knives, the ultimate betrayal. What do you think about that? And also, there was this headline in today's Star, governors wanting to extend their terms of office.
Patent nonsense.
And as we take a break, someone's wishing you happy birthday, Monica. Where's that tweet?
Oh, no.
Yep.
I've seen that photo.
You saw that? Happy belated birthday. You can't be 34, sir. You were around 1950.
Look at that photo. I'm told that the gentleman in that photo looks like me.
Is it you?
Vampire Diaries.
All right. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeb, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLIVE. Plenty to talk about with young Senator Johnston Sakaja. And I tell you, he's coming out, calling it like he sees it, the way we want. Jeff Koinange Live takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.